I'd met Colonel Gregory, who was a very interesting guy because he'd been in the army, but he'd become really disillusioned with the military services. And his vision was for the Commonwealth to act as the focal point for young people getting together in a peaceful and harmonious way. And so his friendship with Nehru led to this idea of this Commonwealth Youth Festival being established in the Vice-Regal Palace in Simla, which was a very large place that was not used and ideal for that sort of thing. And that was the purpose.
I remember being with Dick Waller at the TA on that afternoon of the 30th of July. Greg had recently contacted Massey Ferguson, and he was at a meeting with them at that time at the London offices. We were at the TA base waiting nervously for the outcome. And later that afternoon we got the call. Massey Ferguson Limited would sponsor us. They were to be the COMEX guarantor, and they were magnificent, and we were going to India. But when we returned without the buses, Massey Ferguson were once again magnificent.
5 of us flew home ahead to pacify parents, talk to the press, and visit Massey Ferguson. I went to this meeting uncertain of the reception I would receive. I explained the situation, and to my relief and amazement, they were utterly gracious and big-hearted. The calm response was, "Don't worry, my dear, we understand, we can fix it." Here we are again, 50 years later, Massey Ferguson and COMEX. What a team.
Your mission, which was to bring together different cultures around the world to do things in a good way, in a socially responsible way, actually met the brand ethos, which continues to this day. But the second thing is that you may not be aware of is that Massey Ferguson was a relatively new brand in 1965. It came together in 1958, the amalgamation of Massey Harris, a Canadian company, and Harry Ferguson Limited, a British company. And if you can consider in the days before social media and the internet, and even, dare I say, mass media, to get 5 buses emblazoned with a brand driving through some of the key development markets in the region was probably quite a good decision.
People still talk about travel. But nowadays, for the vast majority of people, travel is getting in a plane at Heathrow and getting out in Delhi. We did something that very few people have had the opportunity or the privilege to do. We travelled overland, through different countries, through different cultures, seeing each place gradually become present to our eyes, and the smells, the noises, the voices, the music, and so forth. And that used to be what travel meant. Very few have that opportunity today, but we had it. We weren't just fulfilling a wider purpose. I think I speak for all of us in saying it's had an ongoing impact on our own lives. It's influenced our values. In some cases, it's shaped our careers or our choice of activity. And there are not many events, there are other events, but not many, which will have happened 50 years ago, which continue to have that kind of impact for us all.
The 2 things that I remember well was being educated about the depth of the Indian experience and the depth and the knowledge of the Indian culture.
For me, it was yippee and off to India for just 40 quid round trip. It must have been cheaper if you went from London. My only pre-planning was a first aid course where I was taught the symptoms of horrible diseases, was instructed on the danger of eating melons grown on what was politely termed night soil, and on how to treat snake bites, including a really terrifying bit on catching the snake afterwards. None of it, to my relief, was needed on the trip. I remember the cheering crowds in Iran who believed His Royal Highness Prince Philip was aboard with us and the 7-course feast that followed.
I doubt there is anybody here whose life was not, in some way or other, hardened, tempered and improved by our experience for and with each other, making something we hoped was going to be a bit better.